What is up, everybody? Today we have a new video. I want to start doing some different kinds of videos. So today we're going to start my AniLogic series. So I went to Twitter, follow me on Twitter at AniEssays. I went to Twitter and I asked for some of my followers hot takes, their unpopular opinions on anime. And I know there's other YouTube channels that do this, but I think we can never have too much discussion on hot takes. So let's get into it. First episode of AniLogic. So we're here with the first hot take that I've got. It's from @Kira_anime, but with a 3. It said, most unpopular opinions are controversial opinions, not unpopular, so we'll give an actual unpopular opinion, alright? I think that Code Geass is one of the worst anime that came out in the last 20 years, and is easily the most overrated anime of all time. You know, I do kind of agree that, most hot takes, unpopular opinions, by nature are controversial, but I think that's where the fun is bringing up some controversial things that in a decently lighthearted way. And on the terms of Code Geass, I disagree with you there. Code Geass is one of my top 10 favorite anime ever. I think I have it right now at like 7 or 8. I think Lelouch is one of maybe my favorite protagonist of all time. One of the best. It has, I think, one of the best endings in any anime. And sure, there's some dips, especially in season 2. It's kind of a roller coaster of some incredible things and some not so incredible things, but I still think it's one of a really great story that is has a lot of great characters, and it tackles a lot of really interesting ideas. So yeah, I disagree with that one. I would still say that Code Geass is, there is, I think, a small community of people that think it's overrated, but I disagree there a little bit. Next up, we've got @Solorician, who is Jules, who's actually my girlfriend. She's on a couple episodes of my One Piece, One Piece vlog that I did, but she's got a couple of hot takes here. Big Mom is a great antagonist, and Whole Cake Island has good pacing. I agree 100%. Whole Cake Island's one of the best arcs in One Piece, one of my favorite arcs in any series. And I know that there's a lot of people who don't like Big Mom because she's not as cool as Kaido and as Shanks and Blackbeard, but I think she fits her role really well in the narrative. She's kind of a tragic character. She has two big extremes, and thematically she really helps Whole Cake Island be one of the best arcs in the series. She's a little bit of comic relief now. That happens in One Piece, and I'm here for all the comedy of Oda. So the second half of that question, or hot take, was Vivi is one of my favorite characters and deserves to be on the crew full time. I can kind of see that, although I do disagree a little bit. Vivi is awesome. She is a great character. I can see why she's some people's favorite character. She's not my favorite character, but I'm also a little bit lower on Alabasta as an arc than a lot of other people, I think, and as a saga, I guess. But Vivi's awesome. It'd be cool to see her, sail with them a little bit, but there's been so much time since Alabasta that it would be kind of odd if she just came back in the crew, I think, and sailed with them forever. I don't know. But she's definitely a decent character for sure, just not one of my favorites. And we've reached the point where the bounties are so high that they don't really have any meaning anymore. And that's kind of true. Like, no one's gonna hunt down Shanks. No one's gonna hunt down Big Mom and collect the billions of berries that they're worth. I think it's a nice mechanic to kind of power scale a little bit at least, but also, how many bounty hunters are there? Like 90% of the population, no one could beat Arlong. Like, how many people in the world who are bounty hunters could beat Arlong? Like, I don't think there's that many people who are high up who make a living off of bounty hunting. And so, is it really, it's kind of unnecessary, I guess, because it's almost so illogical that, would the world government be able to pay out these amounts if someone all of a sudden just murdered the 4 emperors and tried to cash in the billions of berries? Probably not, but I don't know, it doesn't bother me in this series at least, but I know there is a decent amount of people who are kind of frustrated with where the bounties are at. I think it's cool, and I want to see Luffy get a 10 billion berry bounty or something like that. I think it'd be cool. Moving on to our next hot take here, we got Poxel with a bunch of them. Poxel's awesome, has a channel. Check him out. So the first one is My Hero Isn't Bad. I mean, it's not bad, but I also wouldn't say it's that good. I think My Hero's the definition of a mid-series, as overused as that term is. My Hero isn't a terrible show. There's a lot of really good moments, especially early on, but I also think there's a lot of moments that just pale in comparison to any, decent shonen battle anime. And more as I watch My Hero Academia, the more frustrated I get with it. So, I mean, I kind of agree. I don't think it's terrible, but I also don't think it's good either. Demon Slayer is really good. At least right now, I totally agree with that. I think Demon Slayer, the anime, I've only seen the first season, but I think the anime is incredible, has great animation. It where My Hero, on the other hand, kind of seems to fall and, misuses, I think, or like tries to deconstruct tropes from the shonen battle series, and ends up just being less interesting. I think Demon Slayer follows the tropes, but they follows them perfectly. There's not a lot of big flaws you can point to Demon Slayer, except it feels familiar. But I agree with that, actually. I think Demon Slayer is really good. I think people, when a series blows up, it's easy to attack it, but I definitely think it gets a little too much hate than it really deserves, at least for the first season. I'm curious to see how the rest of the series goes. Then we have Bleach has the greatest character designs of all time. I mean, Bleach's designs are amazing. Every character looks cool. Kubo is one of the best artists, one of the best mangaka that we've ever seen. But on the, it depends on how you're looking at character designs. If you're just looking at cool characters, then yeah, sure, Bleach has some of the coolest looking characters out there. But when you look at the importance of a design and what they reveal about a character, Bleach's are, I think, just as good as everyone else's, but I don't think they're, way better than others. I think One Piece, its character designs beautifully show who the characters are, and I think Naruto, especially in the first half of Naruto, does that really well, just looking at other big shonen series. But also, I think like an underrated series, Made in Abyss, I think has beautiful character designs, and, that's not a shonen battle series. So some of the coolest characters, I think I'd agree with you. Character designs, just that broadly, probably not. There's a lot of series to choose from. A Silent Voice is the greatest film of all time. I think A Silent Voice is incredible. It's one of my favorite animated movies of all time, but I definitely don't think it's the greatest movie of all time. And I think that's a tough statement, because there is so much, and if we're considering animation and live action, I would disagree there. But I do think A Silent Voice is an amazing movie. And I think I made a list just personally of like my top 50 movies that came out between 2010 and 2020. And I think A Silent Voice was close to top 10. So that shows you how much I like it. But greatest movie of all time might be pushing it a little bit. Naruto isn't a good anime, 6 out of 10 at best. Totally disagree. I think, I can see like an 8 out of 10 is I think a good rating for the original Naruto anime. Yeah, some of the animation's dated, but the Chunin exam is an absolutely incredible arc. And like, if we're comparing it on some of the same takes, My Hero Academia versus Naruto, I think the original Naruto succeeds in so many places that My Hero falls short. The Sasuke retrieval arc is amazing. It has an unbelievable amount of great emotional and technical fights. Really, I mean, Rock Lee versus Gaara is better than all of My Hero. Like, let's just be honest here. So I disagree with that one. And then the last hot take from Poxel, Haikyuu Season 3 isn't as good as Season 1 and 2. I can see that. Season 3 is just really different, I think, is the way to put it, because it's only one match. But obviously, I mean, I made a whole 30-minute video breaking down breaking down the third season of Haikyuu, because I think it's that good. But it doesn't have the, some of the character moments, at practice, like the training camp in season 2 and some of the practice matches with Nekoma and Aoba Josai in the first season that really build up to some things. So I can understand how other people would, prefer season 1 or 2 over season 3, but I don't think they're objectively better. They're very different. And I actually think season 4, if we combine both cores, is shaping up to be the best season yet. So now moving on to our next take, we've got One Piece is ugly. As you can tell, the One Piece fanatic that I've become over the last year, as you've seen my obsession grow of One Piece, I totally disagree with that one. One Piece is beautiful, and I'm just thinking of the Sanji panel. I'll put some of these up. So you got the Sanji panel. You've got when they enter Wano. That is absolutely beautiful. So I totally disagree with you there. Yeah, some of the character designs might be a little ugly or unconventional, maybe, but I think that's a really shallow way of looking at One Piece as a whole, because that's just to miss the point of what makes One Piece great. So I don't know if it's just like, some of the character designs are not as pretty as, say, something like Bleach. 100%. Sometimes you look at some of the characters, they're not just as beautiful looking, but I think that's one of the great parts about One Piece is you have these incredibly imaginative characters, and Oda's an amazing draftsman, and all of these panels, it's beautiful. So I totally disagree with that hot take. So into the next one, we got Demon Slayer and Dr. Stone are the best new gen anime series above anything else. I wouldn't say they're the best, and I think depends on your definition of new generation, because maybe now I'm going to sound like a anime boomer, but, I've been watching anime since Dragon Ball Z, since Yu Yu Hakusho. Those were kind of my first introduction. So I view things like Attack on Titan to be a part of the new generation. And even though something like Hunter x Hunter came out, the manga came out so long ago, the great anime came out in 2011. So that's still fresh in my mind, even though it's not really a new gen anime. I think Demon Slayer, as I said earlier, I think it's awesome, and I think it has a chance to really keep itself as a staple. If we're Dr. Stone, I'm not quite as high on. After watching the first season, I've kind of just become disinterested in it. And thinking about just series that came out in 2019, even though some of these other series, have been established for a while. We had Attack on Titan that I liked more, Vinland Saga that I liked more, and Beastars I liked more than all three of these shows. So I think Demon Slayer, Dr. Stone could evolve into that, but I definitely wouldn't put Dr. Stone in that realm yet. The anime just didn't do enough to separate itself from such a strong year in 2019. If Dr. Stone anime came out this year, that could be a different story, because it's been such a weak year compared to 2019, I think. But, establishing them as the best new gen might be a little overboard, but I think there's a chance that they can be, some of the juggernauts of anime in the next 5 to 10 years. No doubt about that. Now we got Antonio17 with a few hot takes, the first of which is Pain is one of the worst villains in Naruto. I think I'm kind of in the middle here. I don't think Pain's the best villain in Naruto, but I also don't think he's the worst. I think, thinking about it, there is a handful of Akatsuki members that I like more. Deidara is my favorite Akatsuki member, actually, and I kind of love his role in the first arc of Shippuden, and then, when he fights Sasuke later on. I have a whole video on how I think Deidara is awesome. But I also, Itachi, I think he is a better villain than Pain, even though we kind of don't view him as a villain now, but as like this anti-hero guy. But when he's first introduced in the series, he is the definition of a villain. Orochimaru is another great example, and I really like Obito actually as a villain. but I like Pain more than I like Madara, more than I like Kaguya. So I would say, and there's a few Akatsuki members that I like Pain more than. So I would kind of put Pain in the middle of it. And Pain does, is in an amazing arc. So I think Pain's good. I definitely think Pain is a solid villain. Not the best, not the worst in Naruto. Then we got Uraraka is a great female lead from My Hero Academia. I think she has the potential to be a great female lead, but at least so far in the anime, they haven't really utilized her that well. She's just kind of Deku's cheerleader, and she's had a few good moments with her backstory with her parents, and I want them to expand on that more. Like, you would think Midoriya and Uraraka would have this huge conflict, right? Like, Uraraka is being a hero to make money. That's the exact opposite of who Midoriya is as a fundamental person. And I want that to clash more. I want to, she can help Midoriya grow and she can grow. Again, I think a lot of potential, and it's kind of been missed a little bit. Attack on Titan sucks. Dropped after 15 episodes. No way. Definitely disagree with that one. Attack on Titan is one of my favorite shows of all time, and I've loved it since season 1. I watched it about a year after the hype, so I wasn't at peak hype of Attack on Titan, but I waited like 3 years for season 2, and I can see people who might have watched season 1, thought it was good, liked some parts of it, then get to season 2 after the break, and it's just, it has a different vibe to it, especially with the period of time. I can see people like that dropping it, or dropping it after 1 or 2 episodes because you just you're not into the violence, whatever. That's no big deal. But 15 episodes in, I mean, maybe you just wanted to give it a real good chance. But man, I would suggest picking that back up, because the female Titan arc is incredible, and you're just right about to enter that. And I think it is some of Attack on Titan's peak storytelling actually in that arc. So disagree there. And then My Hero Academia over One Piece. Obviously, I think My Hero's best arc is better than Syrup Village, Orange Town, and Long Ring, Long Island. I think those 3 arcs. I think the best of My Hero Academia is not as good as any other arc in One Piece. This one is from Natalie Hunter. Berserk 2017 was watchable. I think it was. I only watched a little bit of it and I dropped it. I can see someone who is a decent fan of Berserk who really wants to experience it and just see it animated, sections that have never been animated before. But I would rather watch so many other shows and or just go and read the manga of Berserk than suffer through the terrible adaptation that Berserk 2016 and 17 were. Next one here from Shonen OG. Make sure to check his channel out. He is a really great creator, and I would love to collaborate with him more in the future. But looks like I do disagree with his hot take here. Deku is a great protagonist. Again, I think Deku, like, if we're comparing him to protagonists who are of a similar line than him, Luffy, Gon comes to mind, Hinata, I think all of those other ones are far more compelling than Deku is. I think he's serviceable. I don't think he tears down the series in a lot of ways, but he definitely doesn't build the series up, I think, compared to a couple of the other characters that I'm really invested in. It is easy to be compelled by someone who is as pure as Deku, but there's so many other characters like that who I think are far more interesting in the shonen genre. So yeah, I think Deku's a decent protagonist. I definitely wouldn't say great. I don't think he's horrible. Again, I think my hero's just right in the middle of, has some good things, bad things. Midoriya is just kind of throwaway, I think, for what My Hero is. Looking at our next one, dubs are better than subs. Some filler is worth watching for the character development. I just tend to skip filler, to be honest with you. If I, were to go back and watch Naruto, I would just skip every filler episode, because there's so many things I want to watch, and if I'm really invested in a series, maybe watching filler would be, a fun thing to do, and it can be kind of interesting. I like to watch some movies that, are kind of filler, but I would rather just get onto a different series than watch filler. And dubs are better than subs. You know, I watch more dub than I think most people do. I just grew up watching dubs, so that's kind of, you know, how I tend to watch anime. But I watch sub as well. I honestly, it's probably 50-50 on sub and dub. And I think they both have their positives and their negatives. There's good voice actors. My brother says this all the time. There's good voice actors in Japan. There's bad sub voice actors in Japan, and same in America. I think it just depends on the staff. I think people can be a little too harsh on dubs, but I wouldn't go as far to say that they're better than subs. I think it's just your preference is whatever you should do there. Then we got our next hot take here. Fairy Tail is an 8.5 out of 10. I've seen about 70 episodes of Fairy Tail or something like that. I'd put it at more like a 6 out of 10. I think it's a fun shonen battle series. It's not something that I was heavily invested in, but also, I mean, I watched 70 episodes of it, so I was willing to watch a decent amount of it. Here's one from Eddie Hates Anime. Shout out to Eddie Hates Anime. He also has a really good YouTube channel. He's getting close to 1,000 subs, so can't wait for that. Dragon Ball is better than Dragon Ball Z. I love both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. I don't watch Dragon Ball Super, just haven't been into it, but Dragon Ball Z was a huge part of my childhood, and so was Dragon Ball. And I think Dragon Ball has its own charm with its art style and how it's, you know, not this. I really loved the martial arts tournaments, actually, in Dragon Ball. I think they're great examples of how to do a smaller scale tournament arc, but also, you know, I love the Frieza saga and the Cell saga in Dragon Ball Z, and so if I was gonna go back, I would probably go back to Dragon Ball Z, at least some of the parts, because there is a huge nostalgia factor. I've never read it, actually, so I want to go read all of it, but I actually view them about the same, so I can definitely see why Dragon Ball, that you would like it more. I prefer Z, but I watched Z kind of at the same time, actually, but there's just a lot of nostalgia there, I think. Some other hot takes. The Boruto anime is a lot better than Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. No. I mean, I guess I haven't seen all of Boruto. I've only seen like 5 episodes of it, and I just couldn't keep watching it. And I think the original Naruto is a lot better than people think. And I think really Naruto up until Pain, when Naruto defeats Pain, all of that I think is fantastic. An 8 to a 9 out of 10. Yeah, there's a few low moments, but I think it's really good. The war arc is a little bit lower, so I can see how you would think, if your main experience with Naruto is the war arc, I can understand that. I need to go back and kind of re-experience it because it's been a little bit. But I definitely think the war arc is even better than Naruto, to be honest. Then One Piece is probably the worst art style I have ever seen. You already know the answer. I already talked about it. I disagree. I'm surprised by how many people rag on One Piece's art style. Like, I'm curious if they've read, the 1,000 chapters of One Piece that is out, or if it just turned them away from the series. But I think if you really give it a chance, you're going to learn to love the art style. And I feel like that's a little bit of the classic anime logic that some people have, and this goes with Big Mom as well, where cool is always better, than anything that isn't cool. Like Armin from Attack on Titan, I think he's not considered a great character because he's not a badass, because he's not out killing 1,000 Titans. And I think that's kind of an annoying little trope because, I think characters, I want my characters to have nuance. Of course I like Levi. I love how badass he is. But on the other end, I also love someone, who's a little more reserved and who's a little more unsure of their abilities. And so I think that's maybe a little bit too much of a common trope. And then we have A Silent Voice is not as good as Your Name. I think they're both fantastic films. I prefer A Silent Voice to Your Name, but I know a lot of people, my brother, again, he's a huge Your Name fan, so I can see him going either way. Then we got Zach, right? Shout out to Zach. Nuclear level opinion. Anime's focus on fetishizing of youth is unhealthy and reminiscent of pre-World War II mindsets. Yeah, I think I definitely think I can't really speak to the pre-World War II mindsets. I'm just not educated enough, probably to really comment. But just thinking about, kind of fetishizing, younger people in anime, it's definitely a problematic thing. And there's definitely a handful of series that do that. And I think it's something that needs to be talked about, addressed, and called out. But I also, the statement, I don't want to generalize all of anime because I don't think all of anime does this. It's kind of saying, because of what happened, I can't remember the movie off the top of my head, but the Netflix movie that did some really bad things and really sexualized young female dancers. You would never say, well, all movies sexualize, younger people, so we shouldn't watch them. And I don't know necessarily that's what this comment is saying, to stop watching them, but it definitely, when it arises, we need to talk about it and call it out. But we also shouldn't generalize on anime, because that hurts the medium of anime and all the great works that are being created, and it doesn't bring light to the actual series that are presenting a problem. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's something you want to see less of, and I can't think of a series off the top of my head, but there definitely are series out there that do fetishize younger people, and animation is kind of, an interesting topic on that, and something that maybe I could get to in a later video. But it's problematic for sure, and if you guys see it, definitely bring attention to it, because that's something that we need to talk about when it comes up in a specific series. And then he has regular level opinion: 90s to early 2000s was peak anime. And I think this would be a good comment to leave off on, but I disagree with that. I think maybe the best year of anime was like right around 2007, when you had, Code Geass, Death Note, and like Bakano. Bunch of great anime came out then. And so there is this nostalgia for 90s anime. I definitely feel that in that early 2000s kind of aesthetic. But also there's so many great series, and I feel like we miss, it might have been, less there were less stereotypes, less, markets to hit with anime back then. But, it's really easy to look back on a period of time and you talk about all these amazing shows, and then you look at the shows that are coming out now and it's like, oh, these shows aren't very good. But, it's easy. Only the hits survive from back then. From the 90s, only the good movies are really watched and talked about. Well, right now you're experiencing all of it. So I do disagree with that. I think anime is going to evolve, but I don't think it has peaked. I still think there's a lot of great things coming out. 2019 was an incredible year for anime, with some of my favorite series coming out. Made in Abyss came out in 2017. I love that show. Haikyuu is airing right now. So while I do love me some Neon Genesis Evangelion, some Cowboy Bebop for late 90s, early 2000s, I do think anime still has a long way to go, and there's a lot more potential reached out. So thank you guys for watching this first episode of AniLogic. I hope you enjoyed the format. Let me know if you want me to do more of these in the future. I don't quite have enough probably followers on Twitter to do these super regularly, but I hope you enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter at AniEssays. Make sure to subscribe. If you like the work that I do, if you like some of my video essays and things, consider subscribing to my Patreon account. And thank you to all my patrons. They'll be shown right at the end of this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love talking some hot takes. We really kind of attacked My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia stands. Don't come at me too hard. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.